So, over the last few days, I've had the opportunity to talk to some friends in small businesses, some small business owners, and right the way through to senior managers in some large corporates. And we've been talking about types of frauds and some of the areas that they're concerned. And there's a consistency with some of the stuff that struck me. So, in the case of some of the small businesses, very often they point to trusted employees that have let them down. And I don't want to get into the background of those people. You know, some of those probably were background driven, but they you sort of get into the realm of sort of victim blaming and stuff like that there when you start looking at backgrounds. And there are things that happen in people's background that could result in them being more inclined to commit certain types of fraud at certain times as a way of self-sabotaging something good that's happening in their lives. And that does happen. But I don't want to dwell on that kind of aspect of it, because what we really should be doing is looking at the business and saying, well, how did the business prepare for that? And that's the consistency, I think, between the large businesses and the small businesses. In that both instances, what they lack or probably don't have to the right degree is good systems, good risk management or fraud risk management frameworks. And these are really, really critically important. They're the sorts of things that you think about with a clear head in the good times. You understand your business, you understand the vulnerabilities, who are the key people, where do those risks reside, and you build systems and frameworks in the good times for managing them. And then when something happens, when the bad times happen, you trust them and you rely on them, and they're the things that see you through. And so it's not really about, you hear this all the time. You talk about, it was that trusted advisor, or it was the office person who's worked there for 20 years and no one ever questioned because they were the only one that knew the system and process. And so we relied on them and all the rest of it. The reality is, too many businesses do that. And the fact is, trust is never a control. You need to understand the vulnerabilities, and you need to understand and build appropriate controls to manage those vulnerabilities. And that's what I mean when I talk about good frameworks and good systems, because those controls are part of that framework, and those controls and systems working together are what see you through. You build them in the good times and you rely on them in the bad times. You trust the systems, not the people. And it's not to say you can't trust people. Trust is a very important part of business. But the reality is that anyone can turn into the fraudster. And very often when they're trusted people, they're the ones who have the opportunity to do it. And that's often what it comes down to. They still have their own needs. They still have their own pressures and things like that. And they're presented with the opportunity. And sometimes temptation is too much for people, and it's not fair to leave people in those situations, because people can be vulnerable, people can be weak as well. So trust the systems, build the systems without the view of trust in the people. And then if you can trust the people and you've got good systems, you should be away laughing. But trust on its own, trust of the people on its own, is never a good control in a business environment. Build the systems, build the frameworks, think them through with a clear head, understand your business, understand the vulnerability, understand them in the good times, build the controls, and trust them to get you through in the bad times, and you should be okay.